We would like to welcome back to the program, After the Money Is Gone, Tobias and Julia. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on. It's been, a year at this point since you got
About a year.
Like
yeah, about a year.
Yeah. And when last we spoke to you, you were the first non-label act pressed at Third Man Pressing in Detroit, but you had teased to us last time that there was an album in the works, and you're back on the show this week to talk about said album, Wishes.
Saturday, January 19th is our big release party in Detroit, in Ferndale, which is Detroit adjacent.
Yes, we've heard tale of Ferndale in some of our discussion with various Detroit musicians. Ferndale seems to be sort of the next logical place to go. The suburbs, right? Is that the suburbs?
It's the next suburb north of the city itself.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
It's where I live, and a lot of Detroit musicians live there as well.
I guess let's start talking about some of the tracks on the album. I guess I've had the opportunity to listen to it a few times. Really love the record. In fact, Wishes is my favorite track, which is just a badass tune. Can you tell us a little bit about how that one came about, and I guess give us a little bit of background for the album as well?
Sure. So the song Wishes itself was an instrumental with a previous bass player and drummer who I credit on the vinyl, and are aware that this track is going on the album. We all kind of said, if we ever use this song, which had a variety of names, we're each gonna, it's okay for everyone to use it, and we're each going to get credit. But it was the last song that we were putting together before people moved across the state.
I see. Okay.
I've lost many drummers to LA or to California in general.
Sorry about that.
So that one's been sitting around. When it was time to use it and add it to the act, that's when I finally wrote the lyrics.
Oh, okay.
And obviously the song Wishes is in, the lyric Wishes is in the song Wishes. And the song itself is about your ship having sailed already. Yeah. And that relates to, cranking away with a 9-to-5 and letting your dreams kind of go in your back pocket. So the song is about wishes, and the album is obviously called Wishes but more in a positive light, that
sure.
We're doing the things that matter to us, and so to be able to have an album of music that we enjoy playing, and the production quality we're very happy with. It's all as though a wish has come to fruition.
Nice. I was going to say the cover art, the child on the cover, that definitely softens the ship has sailed tone and makes it a much more hopeful sort of thing. So I think mission accomplished there. I was going to mention the production is absolutely gorgeous on this thing. The sound you're getting out of the guitar, I mean, I'm thinking of one track in particular, as I consult my notes here, Dictaphone.
Oh.
So
that's one of my favorites as well.
So Dictaphone has got, and forgive me, I know this comparison isn't a one-to-one, but I almost got a little bit of William Tyler on it in a way, where it's this sort of, I don't know, you're like weaving a web out of these melodies that are repeated, but the actual sound quality on the guitar is just absolutely gorgeous. Can you tell us a little bit about that song and a little bit about what went into the production on this?
Yes. I had a 9-to-5 job at that time, and a friend of mine had a brother at Radical Media, and they had heard one of our songs and said they wanted more for a 2005 MTV2 production called Battlegrounds. And so I faked sick and called in to work, and I hammered out 11 tracks that day, all instrumentals. And what I did was I used a song that I had recorded on a dictaphone years prior when I was just fiddling around, and I knew I had something. So the only recording device I had handy was my dictaphone.
Now, forgive me for the people who don't know myself.
I was about to furiously Google what that was. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Right. So when the early caveman, it is a device that historically used a micro audio tape, and when professionals didn't know how to do their own typing, they would talk into this thing and they would hand the cassette to their secretary. So it's called dictating, and they would type up listening to their employer's words.
Yes. Yes, I think I've seen that on Mad Men. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
That's just how old we are.
Yeah. So I took that track, which was in 7/8, and I think I changed it to 6/8, and then I wrote another piece on top of it. And if you listen to the lyrics to that song, it talks about part one is not alone, them describing adding the two musical parts together and creating the song, which was originally called GWH, because I was really big into the Good Will Hunting soundtrack at that time, and I was so excited about what I had written. I dare say it was good enough to go on there. Dare say. But I changed it to dictaphone about 6 months ago, just so that it was. Sometimes you change song titles just so they're more identifiable based on the lyrical content.
Sure.
I wanted people to know we were singing the word dictaphone.
Well, also, it's a word that you don't hear often. I like those kinds of esoteric words that you might not hear every Jack White has avuncular, histrionic. I don't know. It's always fun.
I try and squeeze avuncular in conversation once a year. That's my goal. And in fact, I accurately used it the other day. There's a restaurant over here in Los Angeles where all your drummers eat, called the Smokehouse, which is this really sort of old-timey Hollywood restaurant, and I was telling somebody how much I love the place, but I couldn't quite put it into words, and I think I love that place like an uncle, and so I feel very avuncular toward that restaurant. Going back to dictaphone for a moment, who did the strings on that? The strings are absolutely lovely on that song.
You want to take that?
Yeah, we have a few local musicians, and I don't even know if they're out of college yet, but there's a university in the city called Wayne State University. I think Ben mentioned it a couple weeks back on your show.
Yeah.
It's everybody knows Wayne State around here. But cello is a musician named Gavin Langley, local musician. He also worked on our track Elliot Smith.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what band
I wanted to get
Gavin?
into that a bit. Yeah.
Gavin is in a few bands, but the one I know him from is called Cabin 7.
Gotcha.
Is that the full name?
What's the full? I forgot. I know it's something.
It's like Cabin 7 and the Horny Boys or something.
It's a ska band, so it's Cabin 7 and the Horny Boys.
Wow, that is
because they play horn.
Because there's horns.
It's good.
Can I say? Didn't even occur to me at first. I was just like, okay, at least they're being upfront. That's fine. You may as well just own it. You may as well just own it.
Detroit, we're very tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Elliot Smith for a moment. Clearly, there is an admiration for the man. I love Elliot Smith too. I when I heard "Stupidity Tries" for the first time, I was like, "Oh my God! Someone made this kind of music at that time." Because he had passed me by when I was of the age that he was making music, and I caught up with him. Must have been like 2008 or something. So it's way after the fact. But boy, that spoke to me. And his songs. There's a couple I'm thinking of in particular. I think Baby Britain and
Needle in the Hay.
Needle in the Hay, Bled White.
Yeah.
Your hand on his arm, you stack charm around your neck, strung out and thin, calling some friend, trying to cash some check. He's acting dumb, that's what you've come to expect. Needle in the hay.
Bled White is oh my God, it's just so damn good. So I developed an admiration for him sort of later on down the line. A good friend of mine, Stephen Scott, has been on the show before. He's a huge fan. I think he actually named his son after Elliot Smith. Anyway, tell us a little bit about how Elliot Smith was maybe an inspiration for you, because when you hear the song, you can sort of feel it, but you kept it a little universal in the lyric, which I appreciated, by the way. So can you tell us a little bit about his inspiration on your music?
Yeah, I recall someone telling me about Elliot Smith when his albums were being reviewed, and either Rolling Stone or Spin or something smaller and more specialized. And also a friend of mine when Good Will Hunting came out with the soundtrack. And I kind of listened. I have trouble, being recommended music generally. But admittedly, I was in a Starbucks, and Waltz came on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh, that's a good one.
And I felt so conquered by that song and floored. And the lyrics in Elliot Smith even mention that directly, that I felt like if I listened on, I would break. And immediately I bought 4 CDs of his, and so much of it is just such beautiful music. And every time I come back to it, because you know how you revisit bands in their entirety?
Sure.
You listen to 3 albums just to get back in that zone. Every time I go back to it, I have a new experience. And one experience included when I was training for a half marathon. Believe it or not, I used to think I needed to listen to Rage Against the Machine or stuff with Drive or
to pump you up. Yeah.
Postal Service is great for running, but oddly enough, Elliot Smith, even though it doesn't have the momentum, takes you away from what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
you can get into that Rushmore state of mind, like you're in a
Wes Anderson
movie. Yeah. Just kind of jogging along with this background music.
In a blazer.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the key point is that the first time I ever got in my now wife's car, I picked up what was in her player, and it was Elliot Smith.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's great. That's really nice. That's sweet. Well, it's a beautiful song. It's I so often those kinds of ode to an artist songs I find can become so hyper specific that they don't really work. But this one I thought you handled very beautifully, and I mean, you're titling it Elliot Smith, but the actual lyric and melody itself, you made your own. And I found after hearing that song, I went back, the second listen through the album, and I was like, okay, I kind of get similar themes here. There's a sort of this undertone of kind of sadness, but you're finding beauty in the sadness and ways to accentuate it, which is kind of how I would describe how you two harmonize vocally. Tobias, you handle a lot of the vocal chores, but Julia, you come in with these little bursts of sunlight through there. Can you tell us a little bit about how you divvy up the vocals, how you found your footing when it came to harmony, that sort of thing?
It just really happened organically. I think from the first moment that we even got together just to see if this was going to even be a thing. It felt pretty immediate. I don't know, just something clicked. And his voice is kind of a very unique voice. And just somehow whatever came out of me just really worked. The way that I approach vocals as a harmonizer is I don't want to overpower the main vocals. I want it to be sort of like a seasoning, like a spice, just to enhance what is already there without overpowering that. And I think we work on that. I think we do that in a very delicate and balanced way.
I agree, by the way.
I mean, you look at a song like Pale, and that one is a little more, I would say, evenly distributed between the two of you, because it seems that I guess my musical vocabulary is very limited, but on sort of the chorus, sort of the build of that song, you're both sort of powering through and singing simultaneously and producing this lovely sort of dichotomy. There's this darker side and the lighter side, and it just sounds so damn beautiful. And Pale was on your first single with Third Man, right? Was that?
It was one of the. It was the B-side. Mm-hmm. It was the B-side to Trip.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? It's funny because that one spoke to me, I think, a little bit more at that time. But let's transition into, speaking of Third Man, let's talk a little bit about that. So you got...
Not interested.
Get out.
Third Man again, Dad. Come on.
Yeah, I know. She's sick of it. So as we mentioned earlier on the call, you were the first non-label act to be pressed on Third Man Pressing, and this album has a special connection with Third Man Pressing as well. Do you want to get into that a little bit? You want to tell us a little bit of the story there?
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
Well, I guess it kind of started from submitting our single to college radio. Time and time again, they said we only accept full albums. Mm-hmm. And on top of that,
that's weird.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing.
And rarely vinyl, if that. We also had plenty of people who said they want more, including that HuffPost article.
We had more.
Yeah,
we had a bunch of. He's been writing since he was 16, so we've got a ton of songs in our arsenal.
And Julia had the idea of a Kickstarter to make it more of a reality, because it's not an inexpensive process. If you want it to sound really good and you want the whole package to be something people want to own. Mm-hmm. So we started the Kickstarter, and that promotional video is still up on YouTube. You know, the short of it is that, you know, we reached out to every human being we've ever encountered in our life, and they donated, going back to people I knew from third grade and hadn't talked to.
Man.
It's amazing how supportive people can be, and they remember who you were when you were 8 or 9. And we hit the goal, and one of the key elements was to only use Michigan companies for every part of the production.
Sure.
And we told people it would be out last winter, and it'll be out this winter.
It's okay. For a Kickstarter, honestly, that is like extremely fast. So I'm not being facetious at all. Like it always takes a little bit longer than everybody expects, and that's actually really good. That's great though. What was it like getting back in the studio? Like, did you have these tracks already laid out in demos, or?
Yeah, for the most part we did.
Yeah, the freshest tracks for the band were Wishes, a different drumming progression on intro, because it was just straight 4/4 before. And Elliot Smith was new for the band as well.
Yeah, some of these, like, he's had on demos, and I've heard them, and I've been listening to them for the last few years, and I like them. But we don't do them all live. Like Wishes, we've never done live. Elliot Smith.
That's gonna sound great live.
Oh, I hope so. We'll find out January 19th.
And in truth, I am completely incapable of singing and playing that guitar at the same time. So we are enlisting Dan Clark from the local band Eleonora.
Nice.
To join us for our release show, and we'll see what kind of availability and interest he has going forward.
That's awesome.
See how crazy we make him in the process of that one show.
So Third Man pressed the actual vinyl itself, and before the call we were talking a little bit, you mentioned they pressed the sticker, or they made the sticker? Not pressed the sticker, they made the sticker for it? Or
correct. You send them the artwork, although they do have
we designed the sticker.
Yeah, we designed the sticker.
Oh, okay.
And all of the images you're looking at on the jacket, on the sticker, that's all courtesy of our very talented photographer, Amanda Matilla, Art District Photography. So it's just a matter of modifying the photography and adding content. But yes, you send the artwork to Third Man Pressing, and they essentially print out the sticker so that when it comes out of the machines and it's ready, they apply the sticker.
Well, it's not actually a sticker.
It's not actually a sticker. So we've had the privilege of going to the Third Man Pressing plant and seeing how they do it. They invited us out last time we pressed the 7-inch vinyl. And what it is it molds right onto the vinyl. So it's not like a sticky, peelable.
I see.
It becomes part of that record. And I
think I saw that in the video when they were doing the tour or something. That it's like a heat process, right, or something. I don't know.
It's what I call like a waffling. So you've got the two plates, and then it just you put the vinyl puck inside with the label on top of it, and you waffle press it into your amazing record.
There you go.
And then you pour
George
syrup
Foreman
on
grill
it.
Whichever,
It really is a beautiful process. If any of your listeners haven't had a chance, I would recommend it. Taking the tour, or even just watching through the window at the cast store. You can kind of see what they're doing.
That's right. Yeah.
I know it's something me and Paul have been wanting to do for a little bit at this point.
Sure.
As Ben Blackwell called us posers for not visiting, That is awesome. Did you get a chance to see any of your records getting pressed with this? I know you said during the tour that you got last time, did you get to see your single pressed?
Yeah, they brought us in and in detail explained exactly how they were doing it. It takes just a little over a minute to press one, and it's a beautiful process. Yeah, nice. This time I think they're way busier, and they've figured out we're way more annoying. We did not get invited back yet.
I think they're on the verge of figuring that out.
That's got to be something else, though, just seeing your actual music being pressed
it was amazing.
To the puck. I'm always interested in the processes of making a product like that, especially if it's your own product, and then something special.
It was beautiful. And then they actually played it on the overhead in the store.
Whoa, nice.
So hearing our voices come out of Jack White's speakers in his little domain was like a life-shattering moment for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was just beautiful. Really cool. And everybody in the process has been great. Jessica, who handles our orders, and just every single person that we've encountered at Third Man have been awesome.
And I told her in a thank you email to her that clearly they are far busier than they were a year ago. And they're probably getting all sorts of orders from national and international and retro acts. But the customer service that she's giving a local Detroit band is still exceptional, and we think that's really awesome.
Nice.
That's great.
I really envy being that close to the store and to the pressing plant and stuff.
It's pretty amazing there. Yeah. And it's kind of the reverse of the Nashville store. Mm-hmm. So like the Detroit storefront is big. It's huge. And then the back part, the plant is pretty big, but like the offices, there's not much to it. At the Nashville store, it's a tiny retail front, but then there's a ton of stuff in the back. Mm-hmm. I had the privilege of touring the Nashville store in August.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
So is there a difference in pressing the single versus the album? Was there a time difference with that? Because I would imagine it takes a little longer to make the mold, or did it seem just as quick?
I think to gauge that, we would have had to have placed the order at the same time, because my impression is that they're very efficient right now.
Yeah.
Julia, I was going through and putting together photos for the Ben Blackwell photo grouping that I was going to put on our social media, and I was looking up pictures of Ben to add to that list, and I found one of you and Ben in there. Like, it came up in Google. So I was like, I'm just going to throw this in there.
Yeah,
and
so
I was
that's
like,
a
I
thing.
should probably what? So tell us a little bit about that. You had a meeting with Ben Blackwell. That's fantastic.
Well, yeah, a little bit. This past August, I have family that live in Nashville.
Uh-huh.
So I was down there in the summertime visiting family, and I had never been to the store.
Yeah.
So I took my 17-year-old niece, Lauren, for a day out in Nashville, and we went to the Nashville Third Man store and did a tour of like all the inner workings, behind the scenes. Sure. And we were just lucky enough to have the tour curated by Ben Blackwell.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Like, of anybody to show you around.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he knows absolutely everything about, like.
Sure.
And he knew about our.
Yeah, so in the photo, you probably saw me wearing the ATMIG T-shirt.
Yeah, I did.
That was a bold choice.
It was a coincidence.
I thought long and hard over that, wearing my own band T-shirt. But I went for it. I went for it, and
you gotta go for it.
And so the whole tour, like, he had said, "Oh, where's everybody from?" And he knew I was from Detroit. but didn't mention anything. And then at the end of the tour, he said, I'll be around, ask me questions, we'll take some pictures, buy some records. And I just sort of offhandedly said, I'm about to buy a whole bunch of records from you, and then mentioned our Wishes project that we had not, I don't think we had submitted it to them yet, but like we were close.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, weren't you guys the first to press with us? And like my jaw hit the floor. And I was like, yeah. And
Leave it to Ben to remember everything.
Every single thing, yeah. And for all those out there who have been disputing who was the first, go talk to Ben Blackwell. Ben knows best. And so I actually had a few copies with me of the single Trip, and I was going to give him one. He's like, oh, I already have it. And
nice.
Again, my jaw hit the floor. And he's like, I probably heard it before you did. Which, again, blew my mind.
That also sounds like something. All of this sounds incredibly accurate.
Yeah. And in that moment, I was the coolest aunt on the planet to my teenage niece.
Oh, that's so great.
But, yeah, so Ben Blackwell has our 45. He'll probably get the full album, because he knows everything that happens in the company. I don't think anything happens within the Third Man universe that he is not aware of.
He's the Santa Claus of Third Man.
Yes.
He sees the whole world while it's sleeping, and it's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome story.
Yeah, you want to tell them about our Christmas present?
Is that I don't know how to preface that, because it definitely is a above and beyond gesture for someone you don't know and who is a celebrity. But okay, I guess it started with going to JCPenney and taking our Christmas photo.
Yeah. Complete with like the ugly sweaters.
Yeah. It was a lovely photo. Delightful.
That experience alone was great, because you've got all these families that are miserable, waiting for their picture to be taken, and employees that look miserable too. I don't think JCPenney's going to carry our record, but as soon as we showed up, they're like, "You're the band! You're the band!" So excited.
And most of our members were excited.
Yeah,
most of them.
At that moment, up to that point, they were terrified. And even when we were buying the sweaters from the floor below before we returned them after the photograph. So we got the Christmas photo, and it was a success. And we thought about some sort of holiday thank you gesture to Jack White, and of course, how would we get it to him? Yeah. And what happened was, when we were giving our single to a Kalamazoo store, the store employee had a bunch of Jack White stories, including Jack White coming to a bar in the area and Jack White purchasing a home in the area. And he basically told us where to find the home, which this is where it starts to sound a little creepy. But so we had a way to send something to one of his maybe vacation properties or local properties. And so then we're like, all right, well, if we're really going to do this, we should probably pick something that he appreciates. Did a little research and discovered that he is a collector of taxidermy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
and the proud owner of a Lucestic peacock, courtesy of Rob Jones.
So,
which is a fact ingrained in my brain. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So at that moment, we realized if we were going to give a gift to Jack White, it was going to be a dead animal. And
as one does.
Yeah. And the creepiness didn't stop there, but
it's a little like a cat in the backyard, like killing a mouse and bringing it in for the family.
They'll love this, I swear. And he's just crazy enough to think of these ideas, and I'm just crazy enough to let him see it through.
Yeah, you're the enabler in the situation.
Right.
I get
it. The postage on, not me.
I physically went to the store and sent it. Yeah.
You add the little bursts of sunshine to the insanity.
So the other thing we found out, I don't know if we knew he liked bats or bats just was the most available taxidermy.
It's what we could afford.
Yeah.
It's just small enough.
We wanted to buy a Wolverine.
Oh my God.
So we purchased a taxidermied bat from a local market where and a local seller he had actually purchased from before.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
But here in Detroit, everybody's got like oh yeah, Jack White's been in here, or Jack White, whatever.
Was it a local bat, you said?
Was it a local bat?
Locally sourced bats.
Okay.
The bat was on tour.
All organic.
Yeah, cutting to the chase. Bought a taxidermy bat and sent it to Jack White with a Christmas card.
as you do.
So was it mounted in a shadow box of any sort, or was it like, I know you didn't just wrap up a dead bat, so it had was it in a display case of any variety?
No, we just wrapped it up and sent it. In hindsight, I could have made it a little fancier, but it did come with this stand so it could hang upside down as bats do.
Okay. That's good, because I'm just in my head, I'm picturing now you like wrapping a dead bat onto your table, just slowly wrapping it
in tissue.
So basically you did a Job where you wrapped up the dead animal and said, dead bat, do not eat.
Yeah.
No, I do have an extra fun story. So I had just moved into this house in Ferndale with a roommate, somebody that Tobias introduced me to. And it was like over a holiday. It was over Thanksgiving weekend. And I had bought it from the store. We weren't going to mail it for a couple of weeks. So I just put it somewhere in the house, but I didn't tell her about it. And I just kept waiting for her to say something. Like, this is just like maybe a month into, living as roommates.
Yeah, they were just getting to know each other.
Just getting to know each other. It was beautiful. And like, it was kind of halfway between our kitchen and our living room on a bookshelf. And I would like position myself so that she would have to like, it would be in her eye line as we were talking. And the whole weekend she said nothing. And I'm telling Tobias, I'm like, she didn't say anything about it.
Every day was like, nothing yet?
Yeah.
Nothing yet?
Like, I was going to wait as long as possible to see if she was ever going to mention this bat I just brought into our house. And
it's in our Craigslist roommate profile is bat friendly.
Exactly. Like, who is
At a certain point, you really could have busted out, like you could have started dressing as like Lydia from Beetlejuice and really see how far you could push it before she was like, I think I'm done.
It would have been a very interesting experiment. But it was about a week, and she had people over, and her friend immediately walked in and like, what's the deal with the bat?
And she's like, no, don't say anything. I think my roommate's crazy.
She told me she was never going to say anything about it. She was not going to mention it. Just live with this thing.
Man, it would have been so good if you just kept upping the ante, like starting to light candles in front of the bat, and then
little fruit shrine, like
buying some skulls, offerings. Putting them next to the bat.
Regular
put all my
Vicky
Jack
Vale
White records around it.
Playing lots of Harry Belafonte.
Well, that's a bizarre thing you did, and I'm very happy about it, and I'm very excited about it, and I'm happy that seems Jack White appreciated it, right?
I think so. So I did get something from the Third Man people, but I don't know if it was directly from Jack, but it was a little mysterious. So I got an email saying that, you've got some money at the Third Man store or online, store credit basically. But it was weird. It said the sender was Costumer Service. Third Man Records Costumer Service, spelled costumer, not customer. I looked at it several times to make sure I was not that crazy. And so I'm thinking, is this a scam? What is going on with this? So I take the email into the Third Man cast store and said, hey, is this legit? What's the deal with this? And they looked it up in their system and they said, this is from somewhere within the company. We can't tell you who, but somebody did send you some money from somewhere within the Third Man company. And it's just funny enough to be on purpose.
Right.
Did you send the Christmas card with the bat? So okay, so maybe it had to do with the costumes.
Yes, it was not it was not an anonymous bat sending.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I wasn't thinking that, but I was thinking like maybe it was a letter or something else with it. But yeah, if you sent the costumed photo,
yeah, maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we want to thank you again for coming on the show this week and give us all the details here. I know you mentioned there's going to be an album release party, and then you also said the album's coming out on January 19th, the third Saturday in January.
Yeah, it's Saturday, January 19th. We're having our big release party in Ferndale, Michigan at the Parliament Room inside of the Otis Supply.
Nice.
Awesome.
And that's the same day digital and vinyl releases are available. The digital through the website, ATMIG.com, through all streaming services, because we release through DistroKid, and they're within 24 hours, it's like your pre-order is available on Amazon, on Spotify, on this. And so,
right.
Nice.
So it'll be available everywhere January 19th. We still have the same merch available. We only have 500 copies of the vinyl, and I do think we'll probably sell out of all of them.
I hope so. And hopefully they'll sell them in the Cast Corridor store again.
Yes.
That was a cool thing with the 7-inch single. They bought several copies back from us and sold it right there in the store, which again blew my mind. Yeah.
So we have a check from Third Van Throwing.
Whoa. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's great. Well, seriously, all the best of luck on the album. I really had such a fun time listening to it. James and I were lucky enough to have an advanced listen. There's so many songs I love on this thing. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about Mend or the intros and outros or any of that stuff, but it's all beautiful. The production is gorgeous. You both sound great. It's a phenomenal debut, and we're really happy for you and proud for you, and we wish you all the best on this release. And thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to have you back on again to tell us a little bit about how the release went, how it's going. Do you have any maybe touring stuff in the works, stuff like that?
So that's an active question. No, we don't have the rest of the year planned out. We're going to get to the release part and keep our ears open for any national, international acts we can open for this year, any festivals we can participate in this year, and any shows we can play with the Michigan bands that routinely sell out.
Sure. Well, if you find yourself out here in Los Angeles, perhaps looking for an army of drummers to play with you, I would be happy to be one of those drummers. And I'm sure, if you're in the Pennsylvania area, James would love to see you as well. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So again, that's After the Money Is Gone, Wishes, January 19th. Check it out.